Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And I'm just getting set up a little late here today. Okay, let's see who's coming on with us this morning. We'll say hello to a few friends, as per usual. And let's see, Andrea, Michael, let's see if Brahim gets in there this morning. Rosa, Linda, you're in the Trinity this morning. Amber, New Jersey. Carol, West Virginia. And Janice, how are you? From Brampton. Sandy, Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Rosa, Montreal, how you doing? Sharon, good morning to you. Sue, how are you? From Manitoulin Island. Karen from Peterborough. Susan from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Fran, Orangeville. Lorraine, BC. Good morning. Carrie, Nebraska. Madeleine, how are you? And Cecilia, good morning. Shireen, Marl from Ottawa. Nick from our staff. Do you know that it was Nick's birthday yesterday? Dr. McEwen in West Tennessee. Good morning. Nellie, how are you? Milika. And wait a minute, I don't know. I couldn't see it. Wanda from Virginia. Mary, how are you? From Anaheim, California. Gloria. Bruno. And Mara. Maureen. Boca Raton, Florida. And Marlis, how are you? Lee River, Manitoba. Never been there. There's Brahim. Francis from Vaughan, good morning. Leslie, how are you? Linda from Chino, California. Andrea, I know, I was a little late this morning. Dave, Annette. Bonjour, Annette. Brian from Garson. Never heard of it. Rosa, Amber, good morning to you. Nativity. And who else here? Carol, a couple of more guys and we'll get going. We got a few studies up. And there's Heather from Miramichi. Patricia, Calgary. Bright out there. Dave, how are you? Lorna, Calgary. And Helga, good morning. Dave and Helga. Yolande, as usual, I'm waiting on you. Dave, Vince, good morning. Guys, have I told you lately how much I appreciate you guys? Hi, Suzanne. Maria from Kamoka, Ontario. Brenda, Henry, and Heidi. We got some people in my own just about in our backyard here. Kristen. Laurie from Cambridge. And Catherine, Springdale, Newfoundland. Lorraine, good morning. Meta from Leamington. Cheryl, how are you? Sandy. Brahim. Look at that. Okay, Cecilia. Enjoying Dr. Martin's smoothie. Isn't it good? Sue. Good. Okay, let's get to a few studies here, guys. I'm just going to hook up my speakers because when it comes to the podcast, they want these on, okay? And I would forget if it wasn't attached to my head just about. Okay. So guys, studies this morning, okay? Higher omega-3 is linked, okay? Higher omega-3 is linked to lower cardiovascular disease. Who knew? I knew. You know, we've been preaching, okay, excuse me just for a second. Okay, we've been preaching omega-3 for a long time. True or false? Of course it's true, and I've been saying it for years. Love omega-3, love fish. I have fish every day in a capsule. And but here's a study, okay? Very recent, December 2024, so not that long ago. Higher omega-3 linked to reduced cardiovascular risk. The higher your omega-3, you got a 21% decrease in the risk of heart failure and 47% lower risk among cardiovascular risk and death amongst individuals, okay? Higher omega-3. Guys, we put out a newsletter the other day. If you don't get our newsletters, make sure you sign up for them, okay? Just go to martinclinic.com. Make sure that your name is there to get the emails, okay? Give us your email, and we send out emails. A lot of stuff that we do on the emails, not that we don't talk about it on the program, of course we do, but you have it in writing. You have maybe some more detail of it. And the other day we were talking about DHA and eyes. Okay, so why is DHA? Okay, DHA is like having a Porsche. I don't know. I was looking, it was funny last night because I was telling my grandchildren that Grandpa used to have a Corvette. Okay, I think I bought it in 1976. I bought a Corvette, and you couldn't give me a Corvette anymore. It cured me of that car, okay? I was in Timmins. You don't want a Corvette in Timmins, okay? You lose them in the potholes. But all I'm saying is, guys, there's different cars on the road, isn't there? Of course there is. There's different omega-3s around, okay? And DHA, EPA, ALA, they're just different. But what research is showing is that, and there's no doubt about this, and I knew it for the last 50 years, I knew it. Because DHA, your brain is made up of DHA. Your eyeballs are made up of DHA. Okay, there's a lot of fat in your brain. Fathead, take it as a compliment. There's a lot of fat in your eyeballs. You know what happens when people get macular degeneration, they get cataracts, their eyes, believe it or not, the fat content in their eyes shrink. Now that, you know how I always talk about eyes being microcirculation, big time. So that DHA not only lubricates your blood vessels, it actually is the fat, part of the fat that makes up your lens and things like that. So do you think it's a good idea taking DHA? You bet your boots it is. Not only for your brain, not only for your eyes, but your heart. Now, for years, okay, and I probably told you this story before, but I'm going to repeat it, okay? I used to, we're talking 20 years ago, or more than that, okay? I used to do educational seminars for physicians that wanted to get their postgraduate credits. Every year, every physician has to get postgraduate studies in. They need so many credits every year just to keep their license up, okay? Now, unfortunately, a lot of that education is in medication. It's not in nutrition. Although, for, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years, I was hired by a company that put on seminars so that these in Toronto or Montreal, I did both, that physicians could come and spend the day and get their credits in a day. Okay? Just had to show up at these seminars, take their attendance, and for 5, 6, maybe 8 hours, I can't remember exactly, they would put on these seminars so that they could get their hours of education, okay? Show up, you get your certification. So this company hired me to give physicians nutrition. Yeah, believe it or not. And it was kind of funny because for me, I said, well, these guys don't know anything about nutrition. And I got to do the basics with them, and which I did, okay? And they kind of liked me because I was funny. I don't know if they were laughing with me or at me, but at the end of the day, I always got pretty good reviews from the doctors. I kept them entertained, but I would go after them big time, okay? I mean it. I'd start with cholesterol, and I'd be underneath their skin in a minute, okay? In a New York minute. I would get at them and tease them. One thing I used to tease them about is Omega-3, okay? Now, go back 20, 25 years, okay? And I remember doing this, okay? There was cardiologists there, internal specialists, family doctors, whatever, okay? I'd say, okay, put your hands up if you take Omega-3, okay? Take it as a supplement. It was surprising how many physicians took Omega-3 as a supplement. Again, guys, we're going back a long time here. Put your hand up. I'm not saying the majority, but let's say 40% of them took a supplement. And then I said, how many of you recommend to your patients that they take Omega-3? Almost all the hands went down. I said, you're a bunch of hypocrites. You know that Omega-3 is good for you. You know the benefits of Omega-3. You take it yourself. And yet you do not prescribe them or recommend them. Why is that? Well, I knew the answer. First of all, they were scared skinny of their colleges. You know, the College of Physicians and Surgeons? Doctors are scared skinny of them. Okay? They don't ever want to do anything that the college doesn't recommend. And the college, you know, I'll tell you, they are unbelievable. They're so backwards, it's incredible. They don't want doctors recommending vitamin D even. If they do, very little of it. They don't necessarily like doctors recommending any supplements. And physicians are intimidated by that because these are their licensing boards. Crazy. Crazy. And, you know, like, they become, and I've said this, guys, for a lot of years, hijacked by the pharmaceutical company. Medicine has been hijacked by the pharmaceutical company. They don't even talk much about vitamin B12. They should. They used to. There wasn't a physician in the 1950s that didn't give out B12 shots. There wasn't a physician to be found on the planet that didn't believe in B12 shots. And what happened to that? Well, think about it. The pharmaceutical industry hijacked medicine. And now today, they barely want to test you for B12. What's that got to do with anything? No training, guys. Discouragement from the board. So, higher omega-3 levels, blood levels. By the way, you can test omega-3 levels. Again, not done. Should be done routinely. Won't be done by most physicians. You probably have to pay for it, but it's not a bad thing. All I know is I must be swimming in oil. Because I take high DHA every day, 7 days a week. I tell you guys, I think about it all the time. I know the benefits of it. I know there's a lot of optometrists and ophthalmologists that agree with me because they've seen the results of it with my patients. I used to tell optometrists and ophthalmologists that would listen. Not all of them would listen, but if they listened, I said, you got to have your patients on high DHA and Navitol. Put those two together. Navitol is pine bark extract. It increases the nitric oxide in behind the eye. It protects, it's a powerful antioxidant to protect the blood vessels in behind the eye. And DHA, I'm telling you, you put that combo together better than any other supplement, even med, for eyes. I'm telling you. And when they'd listen and they said, well, try it on your patients. You'll see. Don't mind the pun. You'll see. You'll see better. Anywho, okay, omega-3, not surprising to me, and cardiovascular, because the biggest thing with omega-3 and the heart is microcirculation, lubrication. Think of lubrication. Okay, I don't know anything about my car, but it needs oil. You don't want your engine to dry out, do you? Imagine you leak oil. That's dangerous. But your heart, your blood vessels, that little endothelial layer, the Teflon layer of your blood vessels, Teflon-like, slippery. The more slippery it is inside of the blood vessels, the better it is. Even for blood pressure, it takes away the viscosity. It takes away the stickiness of those blood vessels. Okay? Anyway, higher omega-3 linked to reduced cardiovascular risk. New study. Not quite hot off the press, but it's pretty hot. And again, I look around and, I get these things sent to me all the time, all these studies. But you know what? I look for mainstream. Now, mind you, there's a lot more today in mainstream than it used to be, right? Just because you have all these social media companies and whatever, and they're always looking for stories. So you get better... but this ought to be headlines. Headlines. Omega-3, so good for you. And especially, guys, I'm telling you, the better the oil, okay? Now, the animal fats have the best oil because they have EPA and DHA. They have the best, well, they're the only food that has cholesterol. Okay? But EPA, very good for you. DHA, better. And the reason is science, guys. What's the reason behind it? Because it's a longer chain fatty acid. The longer the chain, the more bioavailable it is in your body. Your body absorbs it better. Thus, thus. Very good. Think of brain, think of eyes, think of your heart, think of your joints, think of your gut. A lot of blood supply in the gut. Omega-3. Anything negative about omega-3? No. No. It's one of the reasons I like dairy too. I like dairy. There's a good fatty acid in dairy. Now, I don't want you drinking grocery store milk, okay? But I do want you can have a little bit of cream and use a lot of butter. I put butter on my steak, guys. I let it melt in there on top of my steak. Ever good for you. Okay. Here's one. Ketosis inhibits growth, this is brand new, of kidney tumors. Okay? Ketosis inhibits growth of kidney tumors. Hot off the presses. Well, guys, this doesn't surprise me. You know me, and look, cancer loves sugar. It loves it. But it don't like ketosis. What is ketosis? When you change fuels and you're eating fat and protein, and you hammer down your carbs, your body changes fuels. You're now into ketosis. Ketosis does not feed. I'm telling you, you should see the studies coming out on ketosis now. Ketosis and mental health, schizophrenia, bipolar. Unreal, the new studies coming out with that. Not medication, but food. Food becomes medication. Eggs, meat, and cheese. And the more fat, the better it is. Okay? Ketosis inhibits growth of kidney tumors. Guys, we all know this. Sugar. You know this. We've known this for a lot of years. Otto Warburg. Okay? Otto Warburg, back in 1928, told us that cancer is ravenous. Tumors need fuel. Cancer cells need fuel. And then through the process of fermentation, right? You got trouble. Don't feed it. Don't feed it. And guys, we've been consistent about this for as long as you've known me, right? How can you go to a cancer center and they give you Ensure, or they give you Boost, or they have they tell you you need to eat in moderation, or they don't even talk to you about food at all? Imagine that. Imagine that we're in 2025. I've been screaming for almost 50 years about cancer and sugar. Okay, everybody agreed when we talked about cancer and smoking. Everybody. Okay, we get it. We got the memo. Good. I was happy. It's the one thing medicine did right when it came to cancer. Let's stop smoking. Okay, we gave each other high fives. I agreed with that. I was in practice. Let's stop smoking. Cancer went down. Heart disease went down. Very temporarily. Because the tobacco industry, they didn't like that. They paid millions and millions and millions of dollars because people went after them. States went after them. Provinces went after them. They said, we better divert all our money. I mean, remember Philip Morris and others, where they were the biggest companies in the world. And they lied about addiction, smoking. Oh no, nicotine never do that. Couldn't happen. Anyways, the rest is history, guys. People stopped, but Philip Morris has said, where are we going to put our money? Let's put it in the food industry. They bought up the food industry. And the cereal companies and all the crap you get in the middle aisles of your grocery store. Then they invented a sugar called high fructose corn syrup. And cancer rates, instead of going down with smoking like they were, now they took off again. We got more heart disease, more cancer than ever before. We haven't won the war on cancer. How could we? How could we win the war when we're looking for love in all the wrong places? Can't win a war like that. You can't win a war without ammunition. They poo-poo vitamin D and they give you a boost. Oh, don't you take vitamin D. Don't you take a probiotic, especially when we're giving you chemo and radiation. It might kill you. If you have vitamin, you never know. You might get a side effect. I'm telling you, craziness. Ketosis. Why don't we do studies on that? And they are. How about no carbs or very little? And let's see what that does. And they're doing studies now on mental health. And they, people that are doing the studies are flabbergasted. They can't get over it. Person gets on ketosis. Their body is burning fat instead of burning carbs. And all of a sudden the brain works better. I'm not saying it's the cure for everything, but you're not feeding cancer, that's for sure. Somebody asked me the question, I got to answer it again because they get confused with this. And it can be confusing, but let me just do it again so that you understand it. Cancer cells look for sugar, for fuel. Tumors, they start looking for fat, bad fat. Okay? Bad fat. So ketosis, no. Bad fat. When you give it DHA, and guys, I posted these studies before, and again, it's amazing. Nothing else happens. They showed how a tumor, because the Trojan horse is DHA. You put DHA, people take DHA, the tumor goes, oh, come here. And it's a Trojan horse. It makes the tumor, it destroys the tumor. That's specific omega-3. Amazing. Amazing. Ketosis inhibits the growth of, and this is just kidney, they just looked at kidney tumors. But there's a lot of research showing ketosis is so good for you. Like I said, the mental health, some in the mental health community are looking at it. And the cancer industry should look at it. Don't hold your breath. I always tell people, look, you got to sort of educate yourself, because if you're waiting for mainstream medicine to do it, well, don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. But this is why I love educating individuals like you guys. Take the information. God gave you a brain. God gave you gray matter between your ears. Use it. I know you do. That's why I always pump up my audience, because I know. People, somebody asked me, well, how do you know how smart your audience is? I test them. How often do we do this, guys? Close your books, and I'm going to give you a question, and you guys get the answers right. That's how I know how smart you are. Okay, now, guys, we got a great week coming up. Let me just look. Now, there are 2 holidays, but I'm not taking them. Not that I know of, anyway. July 1st is Canada Day, okay? And that's tomorrow, and we're on tomorrow. July 4th, right, is Independence Day in the USA. And I'm going to be on Friday, okay? For you early risers, I'm going to do both programs. That's my plan, okay? That's my plan. We'll do programming all week, okay? So just, you got the memo? Okay. Guys, Friday will be Q&A. Okay, so if you got questions, you might even have questions about what I talked about this morning here. You might have questions on Omega-3. You might have this, you might have that. That's all right. I want you to ask questions. How do you learn? What's the word doctor mean? Teacher. Hey, teacher. Okay, guys. We love you dearly. We'll talk to you soon.